Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. It's Wendy here from Little Nest Crafts. Thank you for joining me this evening. And it's Wednesday here, and we're a fortnight away from Christmas, so it's getting very exciting. And don't know how your preparations are coming along, but mine are coming along slowly, and I always love this time of year. And I've been invited to join in a brilliant collaboration hosted by Teri, and the collaboration is called Teris Crafty Christmas 25. And if you've been following along already, you will have seen some beautiful projects made by the ladies and gents who are taking part in the collaboration, and there's over 40 collaborators taking part. All the rest of the information about all the prizes and the rest of the Facebook groups, etc., will be in the link below, because you've probably been told umpteen times before, because we're now on what date is it today? The 10th. So we're 10 days in, and I know, that people have said it can get a bit repetitive. So I don't want to go over old ground really. So all the information, as I say, will be in the information box below this video, and if you want to follow along, all the links to all the other participants of the collaboration, if you go into Linktree, Teris Crafty Christmas 25, there, I'll leave that there for you to take a screenshot, and you'll get all the other videos in, sort of date order really, for you to have a look at what everybody's been doing. And there's some great projects, so if you're looking for inspiration, then do pop along to that. Now, I'm doing an extra video because some of the ladies that are taking part actually gave us access to some of their Christmas kits, and we want to make sure that they're all represented in this collaboration, because there's some lovely kits available to you. And so I'm going to be doing a very quick project, and the name of the kit actually escapes me, so do bear with me for 1 second while I just have a look. So yeah, this kit has been designed by Lottie's Magic Attic, and it's called Hearth and Pine. And I'm just going to move that out of the way. And I had a little idea when I was going through the kit. I haven't printed it all off. All I've done is I've printed off a page of the ephemera, and I've printed off a page from the kit. And isn't that lovely? Lovely reds and greens, but it's sort of a muted colour, and yeah, really, really pretty. So I had an idea, and what I'm going to do is get my craft pen, and I had an idea of, I'm just going to cut off the borders, and I'll cut this page out for us to work on. And I wanted to make a piece that you can stick onto a page in your journal. So I'm just going to get my Stanley knife, my craft knife, and my ruler, and I'm just going to turn my cutting board round. 1 second, and I'm just knocking everything over, and then I'm just going to cut that out just roughly with my knife here to just make it a bit more manageable. And there we go. And then quickly I'm going to cut out these little ephemera pieces, and I did mean to do a backing sheet on this, but I haven't, so we'll have to rely on some inking. It was mainly to show you the process. So I've shrunk these images down, and you'll actually see why in a moment. So we're just going to cut those out, pop them to the side there, and as I say, the lovely images. This one's a bit wiggly, so we'll do a bit rough and ready by wiggling the edges. There we go. Save that piece in my scrap. It's always handy for stamping on. And then we'll cut these out as well. So just bear with me. And as I say, it's going to be a really, well, I'm hoping it's going to be a really quick project. I know I say that in the past and they end up taking me a bit longer. But it just sort of came to me when I saw that image, and it reminded me of for anybody who fancies a Christmas project. I did a project last year for a collaboration for Rachel and Bella Crafts, and I did a advent calendar for my journal, and everybody gave me really positive reviews, and this is along similar lines to that, so but it's not exactly the same, so I thought I would do it with this piece of ephemera. So we're almost there. And nice, I love fussy cutting. I find it very relaxing. I know some people can't abide it, and when I'm cutting out reasonable size pieces, I can sit and do it for ages. But as some of you already know, I used to have a scan and cut that I didn't hardly use, and I wasn't 100% satisfied with it, so I sold it, and with the money I bought a Cricut, and I've been raving about it, because if I want to shrink down my ephemera, you know, to 4 to a page and 6 to a page and things like that, and even smaller, it does such a fantastic job of cutting out really tiny pieces. I've found it a godsend already, and I've not had it that long, and so far I've been really pleased with how neatly it cuts out. I think I've only had one issue, which my the mat needed cleaning, really, so it wasn't sticking very well, and it slipped, and obviously the blade cut where it shouldn't have. Just bear with me 1 second. So if any of you are having problems with your Cricut cutting out, you know, just give your mat a wash under the tap, and you know, just clean it down, and all being well, it'll solve the problem. Now, what I want to do here is, same again, I want to just trim this down, to get rid of my white edges. So we'll do that. There we go. And turn that round. I haven't done a prototype, so you won't know, unless some of you have guessed what I'm going to be doing, but I haven't done a prototype. So just bear with one sec. Last one. So there we go. And I'm just going to trim that little bit there. So now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these into little windows. Now, I don't know if you can see on the actual diagram, you've got this frilly edge, but then you've got a straight edge on the inside. So to make it easier, I think I'm going to follow the straight edges. Now what I'm going to do is make these into little openings, windows. So I'm going to have some that flap up, some that open to the left, and maybe some that flap down, and maybe some that open to the right. So I'm just going to do potluck, and we'll start by doing this one, and I'm going to make it flap upwards, I think. So in order to do that, it's going to be a bit awkward for me because you really need to lean over so that you can see where you're actually cutting, and I can't see that from where I'm actually standing on the other side of this dining table here. So I'm just going to take potluck really and do that. Now I did say I wanted it to flip up, so I'm going to cut there. And then I'm going to cut that one as well. So we'll have a look and see if we've managed to I pressed on it really firmly and yet it still hasn't cut. There we go. And then what we need to do is just score that up like that. So now that has actually given us a little window pocket. And I'm just going to trim the little fluffy bits off there and on this bottom section here. And then we're going to give it an ink because that hides a multitude of sins. Now, as I say, I would have backed this paper onto a piece of patterned paper or something so that when you lift it up, it would not be white. But this is just for demonstration purposes only. And I mean, if you wanted to cut down round the fancy border, you could even do that, but because of cutting out at an awkward angle, I wanted to make sure that it was really easy and I didn't make a hash of it. So we've got one that flaps upwards there, and that centre one, I'm going to have it that it opens from right to left. So we'll score down there. And we'll do that. And same there. Trying to keep it straight. Let's have a look now. There we are. And then we'll fold this back. So that's our next little window. And then maybe opposite, if I have that one that flips down. So we want the fold at the bottom, and we'll same again. One, two, and three. There we go. So that one can come down like so. You know, it just makes it a little bit more interesting. And then if we have this one opening opposite there, so if I do two that open this way, so that and then what I'll do, so that you're not going stir crazy, I will speed it up during this part of the video. So we'll just go along to there, and along to there. Let's have a look. There we go. And then we're going to do the same on this one. So we want to open it this side. There we go. There we are. So we've got two that open that way. There we go. And what have we got? So this one is opening up. So what I'm going to do is do this one maybe have that the same. This one opening up and that one opening down, or I could have that one opening up and this one opening down. Let's have a look. What should we think? And then, yeah, so if I was opening up, so this one would be opposite, opening down, or have two opening up there and two down there. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So this one will be another lifter upper, so we'll cut that one there. And then across the bottom. There we go. That's another lifter upper. And then we'll do this one and open downwards. So we need to do that, and that, and across the top. Like so. There we go. So what have we got now? We've got two upward ones, two downward ones, and then we've got I think what we'll do is we'll do 3 openers coming from left to right, so they're all the same across the middle. There we go. There we go. So yeah, we've been getting things ready now because it's time's coming upon us when we go away for our Christmas week get together with all the family, and we've been making plans on meals and things because obviously we're going to be staying away from home, and it's in the sticks, so, and it's Christmas week that we're spending away, so the shops may not be very well stocked because it's very rural where we're going, and we just want to be organised. So we've been sharing who's going to be taking what, and there's going to be 20 of us in total altogether, so it's planning meals and for everybody's likes and dislikes and things. So yeah, it's going to be a great time away. Right now, so what I've decided to do is I've taken a piece of vellum, and my plan is to stick this on the vellum, but first I just want to cut it to size, so I'm going to slide it onto my mat so it's the right size. Like so. And I can always trim it down after, but just so that we are not dealing with such a big piece. There we go. So I'm going to pop that to one side. And then what I thought was to turn it over, and then I'm going to mark on the vellum in pencil where my pockets are, so that I can make a little opening in the vellum. So let me just find a pencil. There we go. And I'm going to try and judge so that all the pockets are roughly the same. So just bear with me 1 second while I turn this round, and I can just measure roughly how big the pockets are. So they're roughly just under 2 inches. And they measure just under 2 inches in length, and just under 1.5 inches. Well, there's 1.5, 1 3/8 wide. So if I come down about 1 inch on each of the pockets and just put a little mark where the inch is, like so. And we do that on each of the pockets, and it can be rubbed off after, so don't worry too much. It's just to get a rough idea where they are. Where's halfway down? 1, 2, and a 3. Right, and then what I want to do is I want to take a little slice out of here, so that I don't go over where my pockets are situated. Where I've marked, I'm just going to roughly mark the edges of the pocket, or should I say the window. I'm calling it a pocket, but these are little windows. There we go. So if I lift that up so you can see, I've marked sort of halfway down the pocket, and then I've marked the edges of the, sorry, I keep calling it pocket, with the window. I've marked where the windows are situated, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little piece out, making sure that I don't come over these 2 lines, and that it's roughly situated in the middle of the pocket. So I'm going to do this bottom one first, and I'm just going to get a paper clip to put on the top, or some clips just to hold my vellum in place. So just bear with. So I've got these little dressmaker's clips, which I love using because they're so handy in journal making. And then all I'm going to do is get those clipped on the top so that it holds my pockets nicely and securely and put the flat piece on the bottom. There we go. So, and I'll put one on this edge as well to keep it straight. Right, keep that straight there. And keep that straight there. And these they've got a curly top and a flat edge. So when you cutting your material and things, put your flat edge down onto your board, and then it'll keep your material nice and flat. So what I'm going to do now, in fact I don't need this because I don't really want to cut through here, thinking about it, because it's going to cut my windows. So I'll take those to one side a minute, and then we're going to put that to one side, and we're going to get my ruler, maybe hold my paper on there actually, onto my board, and then I can see the lines through, and it'll hold it straight as long as I've cut my paper straight. Let's have a look. Let me find a straight edge. There we go. So that's running straight there, and I haven't cut it quite straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this near one. I'll do this bottom row first so that you can see. And the hole that I'm going to make, I don't want it to come right to the edge. So if you can see here, this is the edge of my window there and there. So I'm going to go with my ruler, and my halfway mark was there. So I'm going to get my ruler, and I'm going to try and keep my pockets even. So, sorry, my holes. And I'm going to go, oops, see, I've slipped. I'm going to go from there to there. And then I'm going to come down, and I'm going to take another piece. So I'm cutting two lines now. There, and they're trying to keep them even. And then, oops, I'm just going to cut down there and cut down there. And then hopefully when we take out this piece, we've got a little opening, and it hasn't quite cut. There we go. And I'll use my scissors to cut that little bit. And there we have a little opening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away now and cut all the other openings, because I need to just straighten that one. So try and keep your edges nice and neat. Just take your time when you're doing it, so that when you're looking at the pocket from the other side, it's nicely finished off. And I can tidy that up with my Tim Holtz scissors. So now the next one, you want to be doing the same. So where are we? I'm just going to bring my line down a little bit more so I can see my line down there. and I'm going to do the same thing there. So this is going to be the bottom cut. I'm trying to keep my ruler from moving, and then come up again following the hole that I've just cut. I go from there to there. There we go. And then cut down there and cut down there, and hopefully that will come out. There we go. So we've got 2 openings, so I'm going to continue now and do all of the openings, and then I'll be right back. So I just want to show you quickly what I've done is I've drawn my pencil lines down the sides to track where the windows are, and then I'm just going to sit this on the top and just make sure that my pockets are falling in my, you know, that my windows are falling in the right place. So if I move those over, you can see that that one's not quite in the right place. That one's fine, but I've gone off track with this line a little bit, I think. Let's have a look. Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, I've just come in a little bit, I think, with them. So I can get my eraser and we can alter them a little bit before cutting them out. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. So we've got the last one now to snip out, and I've cut it out with the Stanley knife, and I'm just cutting out the edges with my scissors. So we'll get rid of those pieces, and then with my eraser we're going to get rid of these pencil marks now. So let's have a look. There we go. It did work out better with the lines rather than doing it by eye. I mean, if you couldn't cut a straight line, then all well and good, but I can't, so I do need some guidelines, and even with guidelines I can go wonky, but wonky's okay. It's a junk journal page when all's said and done, and these are handmade items. So let me just check that all the pencil marks have gone from round the pocket. There we go. Get rid of the bits. Put my scissor cover on so I don't lose that. And just get rid of these few bits and bobs. so it's not getting all in our work. Now then, what we're going to do now is get our page, flip it over so it's the right way up, and then we're going to, I've still got a few marks on there that need to come off. There we go. When you put them on the white paper, they're actually showing up a bit more. There's one, see. But I think that's on the other side. There we go. Okay. So we're just going to line them up now with our sheet and make sure we've got them the right way round. So as you can see now that those are in the wrong place, so I think that is how it should go there. Yeah, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pin these back on and hold them in place. Oops, gosh, my eyes, there we go. Hold that one in place. And if you need to slide them along a little bit where they've come out of place, let me just, like that, because you're going to glue this down now onto the back of this sheet. So you've got a bit of wiggle room when you glue, because you've got these, you know, the surround to work with, if you see what I mean. So we can do that, and then we're going to pin it in place so that we've got all our pockets fairly central into the openings that we've done. And that looks absolutely fine there. So we'll clip that one down and clip this one down. And then we're going to turn it over. It's a daisy. And we're going to check with our windows. So we've got that opening, and as you can see there, you've got a little pocket. Now, if I get a piece of a journal page that I'm working on at the moment, and let me just see, I'm just going to grab it. This is one of Tracy Fox's that was from last Christmas that I never got round to making, and so I'm going to do it now. So if you imagine, let's have a look if I can find a page. Say if we're going to pop it on this page here, bearing in mind we're going to trim the edges and what have you. If I just move that out of the way, if that was glued down there, you're going to be able to see through the vellum the design at the back of the on the back sheet. And then with our little pieces of ephemera, we're going to be able to slide them inside our pockets if we've made our pockets wide enough. So you might have to play around with your ephemera. So say there, look, we've got a bauble that can go in the pocket there. Whoops-a-daisy. and I've slid it around on my sheet. If I clip it to the page would be a better idea. Let's have a look there. There we go. And trim that onto there for a minute. So we can put our baubles in. We can put our tags in. I do apologise everybody, my phone just switched off for some reason. I think it's got overheated a little bit. So yeah, if you've got to remember that when you're doing your ephemera pieces, that you make them the size to go in your pockets, and you know, in the little cutty out bits. So here, look, this one's a little bit big, so I'm going to just cut round and reduce this down a little bit. And there's some lovely pieces of ephemera with this digital kit. So do go along to the website, or as I say, all the details will be in my information box below. And there we go, look, you've got some lovely little pockets. Now that's a little bit big for that one, but if you make the pocket bigger, you can actually tuck it in. And what you need to do as well to remember when you're doing these pockets, if I show you, I'll just take that off there and off there. When we're gluing in, I'm just going to take these ephemera pieces out now. When we're gluing the pockets down, I'll just shut that page so it's not distracting. When you actually glue your pockets down, you're not only going to glue around the outside, but you need to glue at the bottom of your pocket, so that when you put your ephemera in the little slot, that the ephemera doesn't actually fall and disappear, you know, and end up in the pocket below. So that's what I'm going to go and do now. I'm going to get my Fab-A-Tack and I'm going to glue all along the top here, and I'm going to keep those top pins in place actually to hold it in place while I start gluing. And any pockets that I need to make a little bit wider, I'm going to do now as well, so that we've got plenty of room to go in the sides. So I'll be back in a mo once I've done that, and we'll show you the end result. So here we go. I've got my glue and I'm going to start gluing these in place. I'm not going to go too near the edges because I don't want it to smear on the vellum that's going to be seen. So I'm going to just lift that back and I'm going to put some glue on the piece that's underneath the pocket, on both, down the edge as well, and then I'm going to go up between in each row as well, so that nothing's going to slide out of the pockets. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm coming down the edges and then across the middle section, across that middle section there, and then that way each of the pockets or each of the windows are held separate. And then just make sure that you're still in position with your pockets, which we are. and put those down like so. And then I'm just going to do the top part now, because we had that clip in the way and it wasn't held down, so my glue is bubbling out all over. And then I'm just going to go down that middle bit there. Lovely. So put the glue back on. There we are. And then we can go away and trim the edges to get rid of the vellum that's poking out. There we go. Get rid of those bits. And then we're going to have a look and see what we can put in these little pockets. And as I say, if I need to straighten any or make the opening a little bit wider, I know exactly now where my pockets are, where the openings are, and I can take my lovely Tim Holtz scissors and just snip a tiny bit more. There we go. Oops-a-daisy. There we are. And that one, I've got a bit more wiggle room there as well. If you see, just be careful when you're cutting it, because it has a tendency to tear really easily. There we go. Okay, and then we can see if we've got some lovely ephemera that we can pop in the pockets. So we've got a lovely set of books there, and we've got a little poinsettia here that I can cut down a little bit, I think. There we go. So let's have a look. Will that one go in there? Yes. And then we've got, that one can go in the top there. Let's just pop it on the back of this journal. And then we've got a little bauble that can go in there. And I can have a look. See if we can cut this one down a little bit. Or let me just see if it fits in first. Let's have a look. Lift that one up. Ooh, we're almost there with that one. So let's try one of the other ones first. save me cutting. Just take a little bit off this one. And I'm just going to snip the corners. Give it a little bit of ink and pop that into there. And what have we got? Will this little one go in? Not quite in that one. Let's have a look at this one. I'm just going to make this one a tad bigger at the bottom here. Nope. Let's have a look. Just cut a tad off the end. There we go. That's that one. So how many more do we need now? Oh, we've lost one at the top and two. But if you imagine if they're glued down to the page, they're not going to be slipping out. It's just that I'm sliding it about on this page here. So let's have a look. I'll just see if I've got two more little tiny bits to go in, so you can see the full effect. I've got, what have we got? I've got a little thing that says wreath here. That can go in there. And then we've got, I'd love that letter to go in. A little postcard. We can trim that down a smidgen, maybe, off the bottom. Let's have a look now. Not quite. That one there. Will he go in that one? Ooh, very nearly. Let's have a look. Yes, he will. So we'll ink that up. There we are. And then you can just press them down, and obviously the windows will stay closed once your page is down. You know, once your journal's closed, it'll hold your pages, and it'll keep the openings closed for you. But the pockets are fairly deep as well, so I don't think the ephemera will fall out. Let me just pop that one back in there. We are almost in the right spot. Just wondering if I can take a tiny snippet more. There and there. Because it's only a hair. There we go. No, it does need a little bit more taking out. Otherwise we're going to rip the pocket. So we'll just take a tiny snippet there. Oops-a-daisy. There we are. Sorry everybody, my phone switched off again, so I don't know what's the matter with it. I think it's getting a bit overheated. So let's just clear the decks a little bit, and we'll just have a quick recap and have a look at the project that we've done. And I do hope that you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give us a like and subscribe to my channel if you so wish. It'd be lovely to have you on board. And if you like the content, you know, do leave me some feedback. And I hope that you like this little window. What you could do as well is put some little Velcro dots. You could put a Velcro dot here and a Velcro dot on the vellum there to hold these in place, but I quite like to see them open. And what I would also do as well is put loads of stickles on, and you know, some wink of Stella, and you know, make things pop a little bit more. You could even put little real bows on here. You could put some little metallic stars on the top of the tree, you know, just to give them a lift. You could also cut out another, you know, print yourself off another page and fussy cut round the bows and make them, you know, stand out a little bit more 3D and round a Christmas tree, and it just gives everything a bit of a lift. But I do hope that you like what we've done. And as you can see, the pockets are quite nice and deep, and everything's held in place. Yeah, and by putting it on the a page with some print on, it gives your vellum, you know, that you can see through when you take your pieces out of the pockets. You've got a bit of interest on the back as well. So everybody, just a quick amendment to my video that I'm going to stick on the end. I've finished my little pockets, my little windows, but I've just realised that when you actually put your ephemera in, it doesn't actually, it goes it goes straight through, because obviously if you have a look, if I just show you here, if I put this in the pocket, as you can see, it's coming straight through the vellum, and it's not going down behind. You know, I was thinking that when I put it in the pocket, silly me, that it would go behind there, look, and it would be safe. So when you stick this down to your page, you do need to do the same. You know, go round all the little windows on the back to make the little pockets. You know, so whatever backing page you stick it to, on here, you need to, as I say, go round all the edges and then stick it down onto your paper, and then that way your little ephemera pieces won't fall and end up being in a heap at the bottom of your page there. So that was it. I just wanted to add this onto the end of the video, so that you don't make the same mistake that I did. So I'll say bye for now. Bye. So everybody, that's my project for this collaboration. It's an extra edition, and it was just done on the spur of the moment. So I do apologise for it not being, that I haven't done a dummy run, and but I hope that you think it's worked out okay in the end, and that you'll, you know, give it a go. So I do hope to see you in my next video. Please stay safe until then, and enjoy the rest of the collaboration. Please do go along to the link tree and you'll see everybody else's videos in this series. And I'd like to thank Teri again for inviting me to be part of this collab, and also to wish her and all the other collaborators and yourselves a very, very Merry Christmas. So I'll say bye for now. Bye everybody. Bye.